I'm going to demonstrate how to add tendrils to a swatch so that you can follow along in the Fall in Flames cowl pattern. First of all, I have a piece of scrap yarn that I've measured out to be 10 inches long between the two knots, and I just use that as a guide so that I don't have to keep pulling out my measuring tape every time I have tendril to add. I'm going to take my crochet hook. Any size crochet hook works as long as it's smaller than the hole you're going into. I use the 0.75 crochet hook because that's what I'll be using on the beads when I add them. So the first thing you do is you take the first tail that's 21 inches long and you pull through a loop, and you make sure this loop measures 10 inches. So that's from, I hold at the knot at the pattern and I pull out until I've reached the second knot. And I hold the tail with my finger in the back. Then I remove my scrap piece of yarn. I pick up my crochet hook, slide a bead on, I bead the loop, and move the bead about 5 inches from either end. Now, with my finger in the loop, I twist 20 times. And I bring it back to the swatch. Putting the crochet hook in the back, I pull the loop through, and I take one of my DPNs and I slide that loop onto the DPN. Then I pull this taut and just twist it a few times so that it twists up nicely and the bead's in the middle. Now for my second one, I take the second strand on and I repeat the same process. I go into the second hole and I pull through until the loop measures 10 inches from the body. Might be easier if you choose a 10-inch strand that is not the same color. 10 inches. Then I remove that and pick up a bead. Bead the tendril. Slide it about 5 inches. Then twist 20 times. And then with my crochet hook, I pull the loop back through to the wrong side of the work. Oops. And slide the loop onto the knitting needle beside the second one, and pull this just to twist it up and make sure the bead is centered, which is not. There you go. And then you repeat that through this section. If you decide you don't want the beads on the tendrils, you still make them in the same manner. You take the next 21-inch long strand with the crochet hook. You pull that strand through the loop until it reaches 10 inches use your spare strand to measure with, making sure you hold the excess at the back so it will stay in place. There we go, 10 inches. And you loop it on your finger and wrap 20 times. Pick up your crochet hook from the back, loop it onto the crochet hook and pull it back through the loop it came through, and then slide it onto your needle, and then just twist it a little bit so it's nice and twisted. Maybe one more example here. Without a bead, take the next strand in your next loop, and this is a little loop so it's a little bit more difficult to get the crochet hook in there and whatnot, and you pull it through, holding the back part in the back so you don't overpull. Measure out 10 inches using your spare strand. And instead of adding the bead, you just put your finger in and twist 20 times. Then pick up your crochet hook, come in from the back, to the front, hook it on, pull it through, slide it onto your DPN, and then twist it a few times and snap it so it twists up. And as you can see, with or without the bead, it still stays secure. It doesn't unravel, and that's because it's being held and locked down on the needle. This is the last tendril. Put the crochet hook on, loop the yarn around, pull it through, holding the tail in the back. Pull it through until it measures 10 inches. Take the crochet hook with the bead on it and slide the bead on, moving the bead 5 inches between either end, then twist 20 times. Put the crochet hook in back, slip the loop over the crochet hook, pull it through, and slide it on to your knitting needle. Pull it tight and flip the tendril to make sure the bead's in the middle and that it twists up nicely. Now to cast off all these loops, you take the final strand, which would be from the bind off line, row, and you take a second DPN and you simply purl bind off all these stitches all the way down. If you find that the loops are too big, just tug on your tendril. Oh, on the wrong side now. The bind off is done on the wrong side of the work. Now you have all your tendrils done on the front, and what is important to do is to pull them tight, each one, so all the loops stay the same. You're going to kind of want to hold on to them so that they don't grow again. I put a holder on the end of the DPN so that they wouldn't slide off while I'm doing this. Holding them all taut. Turn it around to the wrong side of the work. Take a second DPN and you do a purl bind off cast on across until all the tendrils are used. Now that all the loops are tight to the DPN, you take the strand from the bind off row and simply purl bind off all of these stitches, all these loops, I should say. If after you bound off all your stitches you have something that looks like this, that the tendrils have stretched back into the back on the wrong side of work, what you do is you turn it around and pull on each tendril, and I just re-snap them to make them really secure. Make sure those beads stay in the middle. That helps if you've used beading. Find the little culprits like this guy whose bead isn't in the middle, causing all sorts of problems. Not really, but just a little problem. And these ones are the ones I did without the beads. They still need to be pulled back tight. And then turn over to the wrong side of the work, and with a yarn needle take these tails and lock everything in place. Once everything is knotted in place, turn back to the right side of the work, and this is what it looks like. I hope you have enjoyed this tutorial on how to add tendrils to a finished edge knitting piece or crochet piece. Thank you.